call upon the captain of the Mahaweli team, Ilma Khan, to propose that moral and ethical values of the young are deteriorating.
The young now are abandoning their moral and ethical values, which were held previously by their elder generation, for something more narcissistic and self-indulgent. They're tossing out those moral values that once held families and culture together for something that is more unethical and immoral. Honorable judges, my dear audience, and my dear worthy opponents, I stand here today to speak on the most intentfully overlooked topic: are the ethical and moral values of the young deteriorating? When I say moral values, I mean those values, those disciplines, and those beliefs on which a person's personal and as well as social development depends on. These are the rules by which an individual makes decisions about what's good and bad, what's right and wrong, what should and should not. These include behavior, discipline, manners and etiquettes, love, decency, control over oneself, and caring for each other. And as for ethical values, you might ask, what about ethical values? Well, ethics, my dear friends, they go hand in hand with moral values. When a particular individual acts in a way which is not congruent or consistent with their moral beliefs, we say they are unethical. And when a particular individual are acting or has actions are congruent with his or her beliefs, well, we call it ethical. But however, a person's actions or ethics in the actions are defined by the society and not individually. Now, I know it was quite rude of me to jump right into accusing the young of their disintegrating moral values, which is why now I'm about to go ahead and give back up to my accusation. To begin with, allow me to define the term deteriorate. It means to make or become worse or inferior in character, quality, and value. But of course, we all know what the term young stands for. But for the sake of being precise, let me tell you, the term young is a label to the age group of 25 years old and below. Well, coming back to the pressing topic, the moral values and ethical values of the young deteriorating, there is only one obvious way of finding it out: the comparison between the youth today and the generations 20 to 50 years ago. Let's start off with media, this generation's best friend, right? Well, it has been successful in making the youth accept the inferior behavior and the corrupt morality the celebrators and the media depicts today. In the 1950s, the majority of the moral and ethical values were instilled into the children with their family members, not through media. This is the way they had preserved integrity and they had preserved the pure beliefs. Nowadays, children have learnt their moral values. They're being taught their moral values and ethical values through the exposure through media. And which is why over the years there has been inconsistency over the ideas. Moving on, fashion and style, another topic that has been dictated heavily by the media. In the 1950s, the overall innocent image was portrayed or projected by the fashion. Long skirt nipped at the waist and collared shirts were in style, instead of midriffs and cleavage. This taught the 1950s to dress up with class and sophistication, to accept their natural figures and to respect their bodies for whatever they are without necessarily having to expose them. All these values are more superior than what is being taught today, my dear friends. Let me tell you, now one of the key codes of morality is respect. Where do we see respect now? Let's imagine a scenario. As usual, let us take an example of a teacher teaching in class, okay? If this were to be let's assume that this is the year 2014, you'd probably see a bunch of students at the back row updating their Twitter status with a snide comments about the teacher, and another group of students that are never there. They probably ditch school because, to smoke or do drugs. And then there's this other group of students who are probably, who have their feet up on the desk thinking that they own the school, and the way they respond to their teachers in the most decent way possible. Well, if this were to be pictured in 20 years ago, you would see that students wouldn't make as much as eye contact with the teacher out of respect. Leave the teacher, even the elders, they wouldn't even raise their voices. We can see where the ethics are now, my dear opponents. You see, let me tell you now that it shouldn't be hard to decide that whether or not the ethical and moral values of today's generation deteriorating, my dear friends, because we can see with every new generation, whatever the morals they are bearing is more corrupt, more manipulated, more contaminated than the generations before them. So therefore, there is only one direct answer, my dear friends. Yes, the moral and ethical values of the young today is deteriorating. Thank you.